your first appearance in WWF was March of '96. You come out, you press slam Jerry Lawler. How did that come about that you first got that opportunity?
Well, I was a fan, like a well-documented fan of wrestling. I was no different than any of y'all in here. It's just that I just happened to be the strongest guy in the world. And I did a lot of, like, celebrity events. You know, like I did the Foot Locker Celebrity Slam Dunk Contest. And, yeah, it's okay to clap. I was pretty live.
He was legitimately the world's strongest man, ladies and gentlemen. Give him an applause.
And I did a lot of sporting events. So like the NFL had this thing called the NFL Strongest Man. So I hosted that one year, and the whole time I was like acting like I was Hulk Hogan. I was posing and stuff and shaking the wall like Ultimate Warrior and just showing that I was a big fan of wrestling. And it got noticed by the WWF brass, and they was like, hey, man, this dude, like, he's made for wrestling. He's a show-off. Anybody that goes online and looks up the Olympic trials, I lifted and stood on one leg. And, I mean, I'm just a ham. Like, I can't help it. I put the mustard on a hot dog. So it's like to be able to be that guy and have pro wrestling, the world of pro wrestling, come looking for you rather than you go and look for them was a big deal.
And was part of them coming to you hanging up on Vince McMahon when he called you?
Yeah, because I watch wrestling every week with like these 5 guys that were Olympic athletes at the Olympic training facility in Colorado Springs. And Wes Barnett was very good with voices. So I thought it was Wes. So Vince calls, and I'm like, all right, Wes, and hung up on him. So when I go to the athlete room, Wes is in there. And I'm like, you know, these are dorm phones. You know, like back then, there were no mobile phones. So, like, it's on the wall. And I'm like, hi. And then the phone rings again. Mark, the phone. So I run back down, and it's my coach. And he's like, hey, did you hang up on Vince McMahon? I said, that was Vince for real? And he was like, yes. Like, take his damn call. So I go back down and I say, hey, man, I'm sorry. I thought it was one of my friends joking around. And he said, that's not the first time that people didn't believe it was me. So it was like we got off to a good start.
And you do the Summer Olympics, and then they sign you to this massive 10-year deal. Did they have to court you a lot, or were you in straight away when they
Oh,
walked?
man, they could have gave me $5 in a hot dog and I would have went. Like, I love wrestling. Like, I mean, I watch 15 hours of wrestling a week so I could report on it on Busted Open. And every show that the fans watch around the world, if I don't watch the entire show, I'll watch the snippets of the shows, or I'll watch the matches that happen. I get the results, and I have like 2 or 3 friends that are like super fans like me, and I'll call them and say, hey, did you watch so-and-so? I didn't get to see it. What happened? And it's like I've turned into the little kid that my mom used to pay me $2 a day during the summer to watch the soap operas, and when she got off work, to tell her what happened on The Young and the Restless. So, like, that's what I do a lot of times. When I can't watch it myself, I call people and go, hey, give me the play-by-play. I put my phone down, and I'll just sit there and listen. So, like, it's wrestling it became everything I ever had.
I was going to ask you because Mark Merrow in '96, he signed the guaranteed contract, and a lot of the wrestlers were like annoyed that he had guaranteed money. When you got that 10-year deal, were any of the locker room annoyed at you for having the 10-year?
It was a lot of people that was pissed. Like, I mean, to have the first guaranteed money contract in pro wrestling, like, I put that right up there with winning a championship because it wasn't about just the athletics of it or the entertainment of it or the business of it. It was the fact that they knew without it, I was not going to do it. And at that time, like I was at the Dallas Cowboys football camp. I was an outstanding football player. And not just average. I've got 4 family members that have won Super Bowls. Like I come from a genetic line of like really impressive athletes. We have 2 Olympians in my family. I'm not the only one. So it's like the competition for the kids are real high. My children, they know that their cousins are good at stuff, and they know that in order for me to spend more attention on them than going to see one of their cousins play, they asses in the gym. They work hard. My son won state. He came in 12th at the Nationals in wrestling. He wrestled this year as a freshman in college and was 2-2, and lost to 2 guys that were ranked in the top 10. It wasn't like he just lost to some soda cans. And now he wanted to play football again, and he went and walked on to the football team. He went and told the coach, "You give me the best guys that you have. I want to go against them to prove to you that I deserve to be on your team." Coach was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool, man. I like that, but we're not going to do that. How about you come, work out with us, and let's see what you got, and we'll do it." But he challenged them, and that's what I did my whole life. Is I've taught my kids to challenge the rules. Don't be an anarchist. I don't want you to tear it down. I want you to challenge it. You know, like if you're fearful of what people are going to say, Vince McMahon, I've had it with him before. There was a time when Vince said something to me, and I said, "I think that's stupid." And he was like, "What? You not afraid of me?" I said, "You can't whoop me. You ain't got enough money to talk that shit and walk over here." Like, so that's who I am. You know, I mean, we used to have final exam time. You know, like I call it final exam time, but I was in Louisville training with all of the guys coming up in pro wrestling. And when I say the best of the best of the best, that's who was there. Don Fry was an outstanding MMA fighter. Ron Waterman, they used to call him the H2O man, was there. Dan Severn was there. Brock Lesnar and Shelton Benjamin came. Batista and Randy Orton. People don't realize Randy Orton and Dolph Ziggler both were really good wrestlers in high school. Dolph won state, came in second at the NAIA championships at Kent State in wrestling. And I used to challenge him. I said, "Hey, man, that karate shit don't work on me." I said, "I want to try it. Come on in the ring. Let's go." And I challenged every last one of them. And I won some, but I lost some, but I won a lot.
And when when you signed with WWE, was a big part of it you saying this needs to be a long deal? This needs to be, because you got a 10-year deal, right?
Yeah.
Was that important?
Vince said that it's going to take you 3 or 4 years to learn, and we're going to be paying you to really learn. And then that next 6 years or 5 years, he's like, "Man, we know where you're going to be at the top of the card, because it's an investment in who you're going to be." And I almost failed. I had to grow up because, like I said, I challenged the systems. So you can't just tell me anything. And during that time, wrestling was in a place where the people were jealous of me for getting the deal, first off, so they hazed me. There were guys that were supposed to teach me, wouldn't teach me. You know, that kind of thing was going on. So when I started to feel that, I started to be like, "Well, screw you." And I would beat people up. And, you know, anytime people try to play jokes, ha, 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 it ended up in people pulling me off of them because I was choking people. And, like, it's not that's not the way that you do it in wrestling. And I grew like anybody that has a brain would. You learn to understand that people are trying to push your buttons and you have to ignore them, or you have to turn everybody else against them. So that became my thing. I wanted to embarrass people and turn everybody against anybody that messed with me. And I started creating allies and befriending people. And the best advice I ever got was from the late Jimmy Miranda. Y'all remember Jimmy Miranda? Jimmy Miranda was the guy that used to take care of all the wrestlers, make sure the logistics of the flights was correct, find hotels for people. He did all the behind the scenes stuff for WWF. And Jimmy, like, when I came, I was the first one that came in. Then The Rock came in, and he moved in with me because he didn't have but like $7, $8 or whatever. And Jimmy would like take care of us, like let us know what to do, where we had to be, who we had to talk to. Oh, that's so and so. You have to talk to him. Like, so Jimmy was like, Mark, he was like, you don't even know everybody. Like, like go to the production office because that's kind of the brain center of pro wrestling. Go in there and introduce yourself to everybody and find out what they do and see how they can help you and how you can help them somehow. And I never thought like that. I was always me, me, me. But then once Jimmy was like that, like I started doing it. And I can see, I'm talking about in one day of going in there and going, hey, man, I'm Mark, well, who are you? Like, what do you do? And they're like, oh, that's what I do. I do all the running. I do the logistics. I book the building. Like the guy now is Sean Salmon. But like I had to go and humble myself and get out of my own head and learn about what the business was and how it worked. And that was the best advice I ever got in wrestling.
I do have to ask you, kind of off the back of the hazing thing you were talking about, and you've talked about this publicly, that you were sent to Canada because you threatened to kill Shawn Michaels.
Well, that was one of those cases where it wasn't just Shawn. It was like I had it up to here. And Sid Vicious, God rest his soul, was the one that incited the riot. I broke my ankle, and like I said, wrestlers are acting sometimes and very childish, and they hid my crutches. So now I'm sitting there. I can't go to the bathroom. I can't go get something to drink. I can't leave the hazing. So everybody's just, oh, man, that's messed up, man. They took your crutches, And then right about that time, the clique shows up. And it's Sean, it's Razor, it's Scott Hall, and Kevin Nash, and Sid, and X-Pac wasn't there yet. It was like, them guys. And I told Sean, I said, hey, man, I don't feel like playing. Like, enough is enough. Like, yeah, I've been doing this all day. I'm done. And he was like, but how are you going to get home? He just kept on pushing the button. And I said, you too little to be talking to me, man. I'll kill you. I said, there ain't enough people standing behind you right now to stop me from taking your life. And you over here playing with your life like that. And he's like, what? Who are you talking to? I said, I'm talking to you. And there ain't nothing you can do about it. I said, if y'all want to do something, now is the time. I had a cast on my leg. I said, go for it. I said, if you don't kill me, I'm going to kill every last one of you when I get back. And Sid is, I said, and him, like, get out of here, man. I said, he going to be the first one to run like a coward when he see what I do to one of y'all. It's the guys that talk the most. It's the guys that get all bent out of shape. They ain't comfortable with pain. I grew up with pain. I seen murder as a kid. I seen dead bodies. Think I'm afraid of you? Sean was like, hey, y'all need to do something with this dude. He is nuts. I wasn't nuts. I was real. And Vince was like, damn it, you can't threaten the top guys. I said, he wasn't acting like a top guy. I said, he challenged me. Ain't no man gonna stand in front of my face and challenge me like that and not be suited for it. At least have a gun in your hand or something. I've had guns pulled on me before. I'm still here. So Vince was like, look, Bret has a camp up there in Calgary, and I can't fire you. I can't. So you're going to have to go away and learn how to be more tolerant in this business. And so Bret basically was the one that invited me to Canada. And of course, it would be a situation where Bret didn't like Shawn either, and he didn't want them to do nothing bad to me. You know, so Bret was like, come to Canada. So I moved to Canada. I lived up there for a year, trained with Stu Hart in the dungeon, and I thought I knew how to fight. I was just tough. Stu made me a weapon. That's what he did to both his boys. And if you think that Bret is tough, Owen would kick everybody in here ass. Owen was a monster. He just was kind and sweet. And he was like, Mark, you don't have to be a like, everybody's going to know. It only takes one time for everybody to see before. And so I got good mentoring and good teaching when I was in Canada. And they just made me really tolerant and understanding. I came back and took over.
How important was going to Canada and spending that time with the Harts?
If I wouldn't have went to Canada, I wouldn't have been in wrestling. I would have quit because I was tired of them. I was so done. I was so tired of them people. And I got to Canada, and everybody was nice. And they were like, hey, you can let your guard down. It's like nobody's going to mess with you up here. Otherwise, Bret is going to kick their ass. And I was like, Bret ain't going to. Man, people looked at Bret like a god, man. I'm as close to Michael Jordan in Canada as there was anybody. You know how live you got to be the number one guy in your whole country? And I was like, damn, man. You go to his house looked like this building. I'm like, how much money do you make? You know, I'm a kid asking dumbass questions, you know, and he was like, man, it's all relative, man. Like, you need to focus on wrestling.
And then they bring you back at the end of 1997, and within a couple of weeks, you're in the Nation of Domination.
I came back and because they started Ohio Valley Wrestling as the developmental place for WWF. And that's where I met Brock and Shelton. That's where I met Dan Severn and Don Fry and Ron Waterman and B.J. Payne and Batista and Robbie Dix. Like, all of the, John Cena came later on. All the people that were the elite of the elite in wrestling now were young guys that didn't know how to wrestle. And that's why they were in Louisville. CM Punks and Dolph Ziggler's, like, you know, you name somebody during that time. I remember Serena Deeb, first date. I remember Pat Buck, and, you know, like, there's a lot of people that they never was main event wrestlers, but they had great careers, and now they're in powerful positions in AEW or powerful positions at WWE. That's where I went. And I was there from 2000, 2001, something like that. And then that's when Brian Pillman died. And I got invited to go to the Pillman show and the memorial show. And I wrestled Hugh Morris. And me and Hugh stole it. I mean, you got elite wrestlers in the world that was on that card. and all people was talking about was me and Hugh Morris match. I mean, you got two guys close to 300. I was 300 pounds, leapfrogging and cross bodies and shit. I mean, we was doing it, man. And that's when the WWE said, "Hey, wow, y'all." They hired Hugh Morris that day off one match with me, and then we both went back to WWF at the time, and never stopped. I never stopped.
When they put you in the Nation of Domination, did you feel?
Well, I was in the Nation before I left.
Yes, but I'm talking about when you joined the Nation at
Okay.
the beginning. So when that happened, it's like Montreal's just happened. You've come back. You're in the Nation of Domination with Ron Simmons, Rock, etc. How important was that for you, and how do you remember that coming about, that they were like, we're going to put you in the Nation?
Well, it was great because it was like master's class. It's like being around Ron Simmons is like being around that uncle that's very strict. And he's like, y'all kids quit playing. Like Ron's a tough dude, man. And he was like, look, I ain't trying to scare none of y'all. If you don't want to do what I say, you're not going to be around me. I'm going to just tell you right off the bat. And I was like, oh, all right. And he wasn't trying to be tough. He was trying to further our careers. Like he always used to say, it's about longevity. It's like you don't want to be here for 2 or 3 years and gone, and then, nobody knows who you are. He's like, put 10, 15 years in the business, and then you can do like me and start teaching. And that's what happened. Everybody that was in the Nation had success. You go to every wrestling faction in the history of wrestling, and I guarantee you there's 1 or 2 guys that they just didn't make it. The Rock became The Rock. I mean, Owen was already over and good, the Black Heart gimmick, and Ron, of course, the first black champion of all time. And Godfather, or Kama at the time, became the Godfather and had incredible success. I mean, like, you couldn't have a show without him coming out going, everybody jump aboard the... Well, y'all said that like y'all in church. Rotten. But
try it again.
Okay. Everybody come aboard the... All right. That's
the angriest Ho Train I've ever heard.
And me and D-Lo were no different. Like, both of us became champions. And why D-Lo is not in the Hall of Fame, I have no clue. I don't know, did he piss somebody off or something? Because D-Lo was teaching me stuff. He was the real bumping, wrestling, up and down guy in the Nation. Like, if anybody deserved to be in there, it's him. And you got me in the Hall of Fame, Ron in the Hall of Fame, Godfather in the Hall of Fame. Owen would have been in the Hall of Fame if his wife would have allowed it. The Rock, I mentioned The Rock.
He's not in yet, but yeah,
he's not in yet, but he's gonna be. Like, everybody in the Nation, except for D-Lo, is Hall of Fame, are right there at it.
And somebody I wanted to mention who's kind of Nation of Domination adjacent, but I wanted to bring them up, was Ahmed Johnson, because he was around at that time, and there's so many stories about him of, whether he was able to, whether he could have been a bigger star or made it. You were around at that time. Could Ahmed have been a bigger deal, or was it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's no secret that I don't like him. Like, I think he's a bad representation of wrestling. I thought he was a bad representation of the plight of the African-American wrestler in wrestling, and just not a good guy and a liar. I can't, if you got one of those, you pretty damn bad. He had every negative quality that you can have. And there was a time when I got there and I saw Ahmed and I was like, I want to be like him. He came in after me, but he was so good. Excuse my language. He was good. Steve Austin was not getting the pops that he was getting. Just to put it in perspective. 6 months later, you could hear a mouse pee on cotton because the boys stopped working for him. The company lost faith in him. He did everything you could do to get out of work. So when he crossed the line with me, which, that's me and his business, I ain't have no words for him. I told him, I said, don't never speak to me again. I said, if you ever speak to me, wave at me, wink at me, like I'm going to end you. And it's going to ruin both our lives because I'm going to be in jail and you're going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. And I meant that shit, and I still mean it. He asked to apologize to me through somebody else last year when, 2 years ago we were in Philadelphia. And I said, no, I don't want to talk to him. And I'm asking God to take the hate out of my heart. But that dude crossed the line. And he did that with everybody. So it wasn't just me. He kicked Ron Simmons so hard he lacerated his liver and had no remorse. Didn't care. Happens, man. You got to break a few eggs to make an omelet. Ron came back and kicked his ass. But Ron was merciful. When he was on the ground, Ron didn't stomp all his teeth out. He would have never chewed again if he'd have did to me what he did to Ron. So it's like there's a level of disrespect that you can give a man. You know how many men in prison right now because somebody disrespected them? I guarantee you there's probably a quarter of the people in prison are there because they just felt like there was no other place to go but to kill them. That's the way Ahmed used to rub people. I know 10 people. I can get on my phone right now and call 10 people and say, hey, man, what you think about Ahmed? Oh, piece of they will go off. I'm not joking. I don't know if y'all understand what I'm saying. He was a dirty man.
It does kind of make sense, though, because I feel like on screen, they gave him so many chances.
They gave him a lot of chances.
More than you would give him.
If he was sucked and he was bad, then I would have been like, damn, why they giving him a shot? He was good. I was like, if this guy would have been benevolent and respectful and encouraging and not selfish, like, he would have been a god in wrestling. I guarantee you, he would have been up there with The Rock and Austin. And he was awesome. But he just didn't like people, and people didn't like him.
Well, let's talk about someone that you do like and that likes
let's
you.
Let's do that. Got real dark for a second. Turn the lights on.
I feel like 4 times already you've looked dead into my eyes and talked about killing people. With, like, no chill.
Hey, look, I have so much love and compassion that I get hurt real deep. Anybody in here sensitive? Like, I'm sensitive as hell. I still cry at Disney movies. Like, man, I'm sensitive. I see today, oh, my God, I was in story time with Mark Henry. I'm going through Instagram, and this little girl, probably 3 or 4 years old, guys playing the piano in the mall. He goes up, and she says, can you play this song? Y'all see it? And she started singing, bawling. That's my heart. So when I get pissed, I want people to die, man.
We're gonna move on from death. We're gonna build it back up.
Horrible. And my wife and kids have kept me out of prison. Because if something happened to me, they go to peril. They don't have the life that they have without me.
Well, let's move on to something nice.
All right, let's get happy.
So you
happy.
you're in the Nation, and then they do the angle where you guys all turn on Ron Simmons, and it's now the Rock's Nation. You were one of the few people that were there with Rock as he's turning from Rocky Maivia into the Rock. I mean, he's such a megastar now, but you were there. What was it like seeing that sort of transition for him?
It was amazing because I don't know if I've ever seen anybody work harder than him. Never. Work out twice a day. I take too long showering and what are you doing in there, man? Like, ooh, hurry up. I got to shave. The car's running. Like we had a good time. We were like brothers, more than roommates. But he would sit around and write in this book. And one day I picked the book up and I was like, man, what you writing, man? And I'm going to try this tomorrow, and I'm going to try this tomorrow. I tried this, don't work. He was breaking wrestling down and what worked and what didn't. He was going to try everything. I was like, bro, you guys are going to try all of this. Yeah, I am. I said, when? When I get to it. And he Xing them off, putting checks on them. And he would do everything. Get in there. Man, he would get in the ring with Tom Pritchard and wrestle like 30 minutes before practice. And then we would work out and learn wrestling. I'm just like, hey, man, you want to go out? I'm going out to this club. Like they say, this used to be a porn building. Did y'all know that? This building used to be where they used to show porno movies. I love it. I would go out to the clubs, man. It was the best. I had a great time. And I'd be like getting in at 1 o'clock and wake up at like 7 o'clock to get ready to go to practice. He was like, man, what time did you get here? I went to bed at like 11 or 12 and you wasn't even here yet. And I was like, oh, man, I got in probably 2 hours after that. And he would be like, man, you killing yourself, man. You need to get some rest. Like, this is hard. This is like, we here to work. Like, he was like my coach. I was like, man, stop talking to me like that. Oh. But, like, there's nobody that outwork him. Even in his daily life. Have you ever seen the Iron Palace thing that he does? He wake up at 4 o'clock every morning and go to the gym for an hour and a half to 2 hours. Then goes and eat breakfast, and then goes and does all his phone calls and business stuff for a couple hours, and then he go work out again. And then he'll get dressed and go do life. I'm like, that's a lot. Before noon? He like the military, man.
Well, there's that famous video, right, of Sean Evans, the guy from Hot Ones. Years ago, he tried to eat the Rock's diet in a day, and he got to, like, Rock's 9 a.m., 3 pounds of haddock, and just spewed everywhere, just vomited. Couldn't do it.
Pancakes. Like, we used to go, everywhere we used to go, he used to be like, listen, I need some pancakes to go. No syrup. Can you sprinkle cinnamon on them? And there was y'all ever heard of this American place called Bob Evans? So like he used to like Bob Evans because they had cinnamon pancakes. He loved cinnamon. So like everywhere we would go, he would get pancakes, put them in a box, and like that would be his in the middle of the day meal snack, like so he can get some carbs and get fired up again. And like to go to the Waffle House with him, or like and people in Canada, the Huddle House. I don't know if they have a breakfast place that's like a fast food breakfast place here in.
No, they tried Denny's here for a while.
Like Denny's?
Yeah, they tried that.
Oh, they have Denny's. So like that. But he would always get egg whites. I hated egg whites. I gotta have yolk in my eggs. Like, like he ate healthy all the time. That's why he was able to look like that. Like his discipline was something worldly, out of worldly. Like I don't know nobody like him. He had to succeed. It just ain't no way to fail when you trying to do everything right, and it makes you feel good to do everything right.
Off the back of that, I wanted to ask you about the DX parody of the Nation from the summer of 1998, where they all pretended to be
And
you
was
guys.
talking to me about negativity.
We can skip it.
Nah, listen, man.
Because I mean, the reason I bring it up is because there's a kind of story online that Ken Shamrock had a story about, or a theory. He said something happened with a sandwich with X-Pac, and he referenced it in the parody.
Somebody put in one of the rocks. Like I said, he used to have the to-go boxes. He used to pack food for later. And somebody in a box and put it in his locker. And, there were several people that was like, hey, man, don't get bent out of shape. Don't sell it because they're going to get a good laugh. Take your box and just throw it in the trash. Like, man, I'm just not going to eat today. Don't sell it. And he never really sold it, but he wanted to know who it was. And you know how horrible that would have been for him to find out who it was? Because he wouldn't have handled it. He would have went straight to Vince. And he'd have said, listen, it's either me or him. Who you think they going to pick? Goodbye. And that's kind of like the way that it was back then. But like, as far as the DX and the...
Because I was curious about with that parody, is that a situation where they're coming to you and saying, right, we're going to do this? Or do they just go out and do it and you guys are...
No, we knew, and Dwayne didn't like it from the beginning. He was like, I don't like it. I don't like people dressing up like us. I don't like people like, just putting blackface on. Like he didn't like it. But like at that time, I was like, man, we in entertainment, man. Like, it ain't bothering me. And he was like, if y'all want to do it, then we'll do it. But like, I just don't like it. I'm just letting you know. Like Dwayne never liked it. I didn't care because I just looked at it as being part of the work because I knew the people and I knew they weren't racist. I knew they weren't like X-Pac. He didn't know until probably like a month or two after they started taking heat. Like, man, y'all dressed up like black people. You put makeup on to look like that and this and that. And he was like, what is the big deal? Like, we just was playing. Like, we were acting like our guys. And they were like, you ever heard of a minstrel show? And he was like, what is that? I don't even know what that is. And I explained to him what people used to do after the slavery times, dress up and put black on and make big red lips and, act like characterization of what they thought a black person is. He cried. He had no idea about that history because America don't teach the nasty history. They just, sweep it under the rug and, then this guy finds out that what he did was like some of the worst you can do to people. It hurt him. And I told him, I said, man, look, I know who you are. He's like, Mark, I'm not a racist. I said, I didn't say you were a racist. I said that situation was deemed racist. And they going to fight that for the rest of their careers, for their life. Because it was a little bit distasteful. And it took for people that I know outside of wrestling to say, man, you shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have let them do that. And I was like, man, what was I supposed to do? Like, just say I'm not going to go to work for, like, so it was complicated. And we all learned a valuable lesson from it on both sides.
I think this is an uplifting thing to move on to, so I hope you feel the same. I think this is a nice thing. So you had come to WWF, you were the world's strongest man, you're in the Nation, but I think one of the first times that we properly saw your acting chops and saw what you could do was the birth of Sexual Chocolate.
That was a good time. And I had to beg Vince to do that.
So you came up with that? And
I created Sexual Chocolate. And me and D-Lo in the car driving, and D-Lo like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do, man. Because, like when the Nation broke up, we were trying to find each other. We were trying to find ourselves. Like, what are we going to do? Because, man, this is right in the thick of the Attitude Era. To get on TV was hard. And D-Lo was working pretty solid with cruiserweight guys. He was working with big guys, doing jobs, like working in the middle, but he wasn't like super over yet. And I was like, golly, man, what if? I said, you ever see that movie Coming to America? And he was like, yeah. I said, I want to be Randy Watson or Sexual Chocolate. And he was like, first off, they're not even going to let you say Sexual Chocolate on TV. And I was like, no, man, I'm going to go tell Vince. And he was like, yeah, good luck with that. And I went in there and talked to Vince, and Vince was like, Mark, we spent a lot of money trying to make you the strongest guy in the world. And, like he was real serious. And he's like, you're not comedy. Me looking at you, I don't see comedy. I see tough. I see mean. I want you to lean into that. I was like, Vince, I got a lot of jokes that need to be told. And he's like, oh my God. I said, let me show you what I'm talking about. Just one time, and then if it don't work, I won't never say nothing else about it. And he let me do it that night. And the whole point of the character was not to win, but to get the girl. So every match I had, I was wrestling Sean Morley. He wasn't even Val Venus yet. He was Sean Morley. And I mean, we're wrestling. I body slam him, and then I get ready to, to pin him, and he kicks out. And he starts hitting me back. He hits the ropes, and that was the first time that I did the Vader. Like I started doing what Vader used to do. And I think I just stole it. I just took it. And I did that, and he's down. And then I look, and I see the girl in the front row, and I get out of the ring in the mid-match, and I go and talk to this girl, and I'm leaning on the barricade. I'm like, hey, that's your phone number. He comes and starts tapping me on the shoulder. And I'm like, it's not that. I'm sorry, right here. He turned around. He's punching me, bing, bing. I throw him back in the ring, and I beat him. And then I'm serious. I'm cheering, and then I go. And then I go back to the girl. And I came in the back, and Vince was about to piss his pants laughing. He was like, damn it. He was like, good job, Sexual Chocolate. And I was like, for real? And it was like, bro, it's like little kid stuff. Like, he allowed me to do something that Vince is hard to go back on what he thinks. And he allowed me to do that, man. And, like, that's still, I can't go nowhere without having a question asked. Or if I'm in front of a crowd and they'll go, Sexual Chocolate. Like, it's a part of who I became for the rest of my life.
Because I feel like one of the highlights of that whole time in WWF in general was you and Chyna, and you trying to get Chyna to go on a date with you and all that kind of stuff. I mean, was that your idea to involve her? Because that just felt like such a good...
No, that was Vince. Like, that was like... It was Vince that came up with me trying to get Chyna to laugh, because nobody could get Chyna to laugh in the ring. Nobody was cracking her brother. And then the same thing with Mae Young. He was like, hey, we're going to have you go out and protect Mae Young. And I'm like, protect her? Well, what's going on? And he's like, Mae is going to be your new love interest. All right, let's do this. I was like, is she ready for all of this? And Vin's like, fool, please save it for TV. He like, we just had a good time, man. And man, I got to see, y'all know who Bruce Pritchard is? Brother Love. So Bruce is a high up. Like, it ain't many dudes that's higher than him other than Hunter right now. And Bruce was producing me and Mae Young on Valentine's Day. Like we're in the bed together and she's smokes a cigar in the hotel. And they're like, you got to put that out. You can't do that. I just did it. She was the best, man. Like, I love that woman. And we were just having a good, and she started like trying to unbutton my boxers. And Bruce Pritchard is literally on the floor about to die. He's laughing so hard he can't breathe, and he's going, like I'm telling you, he was almost out of there. And if it was funny to the people that was doing it, the people watching were going to be losing their minds. And it got to the point to where they was like, guys, y'all got to stop, please. We got to finish shooting this. And we shot that. And still to this day, between that scene of the Valentine's Day and me and Sammy, the Chyna's friend, we're not going to say what that is. We're in this building, so you might as well. But
We will.
like those two things, Stephanie McMahon, every time she sees me, she repeats at least one of those.
Well, because I was going to ask you, we'll not go into it too much because it was so long ago and it's PC-wise, but with the Sammy thing, when they come to you and say, right, okay, because you and Chyna were kind of becoming an on-screen couple.
Yeah.
It felt like that had legs, so that could have been a lot more than it was.
It could have, but I was still getting in trouble, like, with people at that time too.
But my question was going to be, so when they come to you and say, right, we're ending the Chyna thing, we're going to have you and Sammy, your mother's going to be in the front row and all this kind of stuff. What is your reaction when they come to you? Are you just like, yeah, that's fine? Or are you like, what is going on?
I did it to myself. Like, during that time, I knew that, like, I thought I was going to get fired, actually, because I just couldn't handle people talking to me the way that there were certain people trying to, brick me. And, I just was like, man, me going to Canada was the best thing that ever happened. I just thank God that I got hurt, that I got in trouble, and that I went to Canada, because Canada made me the wrestler that I am, because I had Stu Hart, Bret Hart, Owen Hart, and Leo Burke. Leo Burke is the godfather of wrestling training in Canada. How am I supposed to fail with the best people in Canada, in the entire country, teaching me? And Bad News Brown, #1 student, Rodney Blackbeard, left Halifax and came to Canada and was working. I'm working with the best underground wrestler in Canada every day. How you gonna fail? It was just impossible. So when I came back to Louisville after leaving Canada, man, I had dropped. That was the lowest that I had ever weighed, and since high school, I was like 317 or something. My sexual chocolate, I still had my sexual chocolate gear. You go to the Ohio Valley Wrestling Legends page, and you'll see me with the sexual chocolate gear on. It was baggy like this on me because I had lost almost 80 pounds. I was in great shape, and man, it was like that was the upturn for me coming who ended up becoming.
I do still want to talk about Mae Young a little bit more, if that's okay.
Come on, man. I love it.
You would actually, I do actually need to thank you, because as a 16-year-old boy who's just realised he's gay, watching the Royal Rumble swimsuit contest and Mae Young gets her tits out, you saved the day. You came in and saved the day for me, so thank you very much. You're
welcome. I guess.
But
hey, look, man. Titties are titties. Whether they old titties or young titties, they still titties.
I think it was Shakespeare who once said, so...
That's going to get edited out.
No, it's not. So when you're doing the Mae Young stuff, like when you're working with her, I mean, because on screen, I'm guessing she's deliberately playing the kind of ditzy old lady who doesn't really know what's going on, but
brilliant woman. You know she was Miss Texas, right? Y'all seen the young pictures of her? Okay, think.
She did that movie, right? The Lipstick and Dynamite movie, her and Moolah. There was like stuff from them when they were younger.
I can't remember like that movie, but I remember her coming on the road one day with this folder with all these pictures in it, because she would ride with me because she didn't drive well at night at that age. So I was like, man, we're going to the same hotel. Just jump in the car with me. So I would have the biggest rib of all time. I ribbed myself. So now I got Mae and Moolah in the back seat, and they have to stop and pee every 45 minutes. A trip that would normally take like 2.5, 3 hours, 4 hours. Just like, oh, God, guys, please don't drink anything. We don't need to stop again, please. But like, I learned so much in the car with them, and I asked Mae, Moolah told me that you was Miss Texas. And she said, yeah. And she said, next week I'm going to bring some photos. I'm talking about Tori Wilson fine. I'm serious. Man, I wish I had time to sit here and go through my phone and Google and go, look.
I think you could be here for a long time if you were going to compare Tori Wilson and Mae Young.
Man, she was so attractive, man. She actually looked kind of like the girl that does the glamour. You know what I'm talking about? Mariah Mae. She looked just like Mariah Mae, but bigger than her.
What you could do is tomorrow on your Instagram, you could put a photo of Mariah Mae and a photo of Johnny Mae together.
I'm going to do it. Go. The Mark Henry, go to my site. I guarantee you that I'm gonna have a picture of Mariah Mae and
Mae Young. You tag Inside the Ropes,
and I'm gonna tag you because you spawned that.
The last Mae Young question. So you go to TV.
No, there's gonna be more. Because you didn't even talk about how the pregnancy.
That's what I'm about to get to. You're stealing my thunder.
You didn't talk about, did I really kiss her?
I don't want you to have to kiss and tell.
Oh, I tell. Hey, what's the use of having one if you ain't gonna tell everybody you got one? And yeah, man, like that was the thing that Bully Ray, like they put Mae Young through a table. And yeah, I'm just going off. Like, oh, I can't believe I'm so distraught. And like when she comes to and I kiss her, it was real.
I'm sure she loved it.
No, she didn't.
Anyway, that could go down a tangent. I'm not going to go down. But you get to TV one day and they say, we're going to have Mae be pregnant. How does that go?
Get out of here. In one day? And they were like, no, Mark, over a few weeks. I said, that's not how it works. I was like, it takes 9 months. And they're like, we're not going to do it in 9 months, Mark.
That was your only question about the validity of 79-year-old Mae Young being pregnant. The timing of the months.
I was seeing literal in wrestling. Stupid me.
So, I mean, but when this is happening, they're saying, right, we're going to make Mae pregnant. Are you going, well, what's the payoff? Like, what?
Yes, that's his. Man, I asked Vince at least 2 or 3 times. He would never answer me, and I would be like, "Man, why getting pregnant? Because like she's not gonna have a baby, and this and that." And he was like, "Don't worry, Mark. It's gonna come to a great conclusion." So the day of, Pat Patterson comes to me and goes, "Did you did you hear what's going on?" I was like, "No, what's going on, Pat?" And he's like, "No, you gotta sit down. You gotta sit down. I don't want you to hurt yourself." And then he told me, and I said, "A hand?" And he said, "Yeah." And he said, "Look, Gerald Briscoe don't know, so don't tell him. Gerald Briscoe has a very weak stomach. If you go, Gerald Briscoe, he'll just throw up. It's the best thing ever. Don't do this to him if you sin, please. It's horrible. We used to rib him unmercifully." And so Pat said, "I need you to go get a bunch of the food and catering that, like, is like nobody's eating, and just mix it all together and put it in a plastic."
This was your job.
And then they went and got this slime. This, like, like the kids play with slime. So they went and got this slime and they put that in the bag. And then they put the hand down inside of it. And then, so it was underneath the sheet. And y'all got to go back and look at this. Go look at Mae Young having the baby. I'm sure some of y'all have seen it multiple times. But now you gonna have a reference point. When they pulled the hand out, it made a sound like, which I hear the sound effect, and you look at me, and I'm laughing like I'm laughing now, and I'm completely useless in the whole deal. I'm just laughing. So you go back and look at it. And when they pulled that hand out, Gerald Briscoe goes, I just vomit. It was so good. It was the best thing that I ever did in wrestling. I'm telling you, I won championships. I had like serious emotional, respectful moments with guys. There ain't nothing that I enjoyed more than that hand. And I asked Vince, I said, why a hand out of all the stuff? You know what I'm saying? Don't y'all want to know? You want to know?
Yeah.
He said, "Mark, I'm giving you See how goofy that shit is? That's what's going on in Vince McMahon's brain. He's crazy.
I'm so sorry. This never happens to me, but I'm just having a flashback to being 16 years old and watching Mae Young give birth to a hand. And all these years later, we're in a sex club talking about it in Glasgow.
That's for you, babe. Oh, man.
Since we can't be here all night, I need to jump ahead quite a bit and just kind of, trim the stuff a bit. But I wanted to talk about when you came back. One of the times you came back in late 2005, you were about to do the Undertaker match at WrestleMania. You start working with Batista. It felt like when you came back in that run that everything had kind of clicked. Like you were now going to be a top guy. There'd been flirtations before when you were with Tay Long on Raw, but this run seemed to be the one. Why do you think at that point it clicked for you?
Exactly what Vince said. It's going to take you 10 years to master what we do. And it was almost 10 years exactly where everything that I thought was like, that's not going to work. But if you do this, it'll work. Like, it just, like, the psychology of it met the athleticism. It met the fact that I could do things physically that other men couldn't do. All of that stuff just started to work in within a month or two. It just like everything was like, Undertaker said to me that he said, I've I really think that you can be 10 times better than you are, but you have to work against the best guys. If you're working against, no disrespect, Jamie Noble and Hurricane, then that's where you're going to be. He said, when people see you, they think, oh my God, like I hope that he's not mad at me or hungry. That was supposed to be funny. And that was he was 100% right. So if you notice that, it took from 2007 to 2011 before the Hall of Pain. During that period, I kept getting hurt. Matches getting ready for WrestleMania, hurt. Oh, I'm back. Wrestling. Oh, getting ready for WrestleMania, hurt. So I had to learn that there was stuff that I didn't need to do. It was too risky, and I was still out there taking risks when I needed to conserve. Can you tell your damn map to leave me alone?
Off.
There you go. Thank you. And that's basically what happened, man. Like, I learned to be more conservative when I needed to be. And that's the thing that with some elite wrestlers, they never learn. And yeah, I walk real bad right now because my back is hurt, but that's because I did that to myself. Nobody did that to me. You have to be able to conserve something and take care of yourself.
Before we talk about the Hall of Pain, I do want to talk about that Undertaker match at WrestleMania 22 that you had. How did you find that you're working with Taker, and is it true that you were considered to end the streak?
Yes, and that was them. Vince and Taker was like, listen, we need to put some, they thought that Taker needed sympathy. I was like, not with me. I was like, everybody gonna hate me, man. I was like, y'all trying to set me up. I thought that they were trying to set me up. That's how ludicrous that sounded to me. I was like, no. You're going to make every wrestler in the world mad at me. And look what happened. What happened when Taker got beat at WrestleMania? How'd y'all feel? Like, and still to this day, there are people that are mad at the fact that Taker got beat. They thought that streak should have went to the grave with him. And I could see that. You know how you could just feel like when something's wrong? Like, I'm like, man, this don't seem right. And I was like, nah, man, don't do that to me, please. And it was like, do you realize, like, how over you'll be? I was like, no, I won't. I might be over with The Office, but I'm not going to be over with the fans. They're going to hate me.
But even not beating the streak, it must have been good for you that, you've worked all these years and now you're in a big WrestleMania match with Undertaker.
I was the only one that whooped his ass in WrestleMania. Go back and look at the match. I beat him from pillar to post, and he won. All the pictures are me choking him and dropping something on him and catching him and throwing him. And it was like I dominated that match because they wanted him to be put in a situation where it looked like he can be beat, because Undertaker at that point, he had beat so many people and he had got to the point to where everybody just expected him to win. Just to say that I was a part of a process that helped humanize the Undertaker, I can go to my grave and be happy with that.
Just for my own shits and giggles, what was it like being managed by Tony Atlas?
All I would say is look up me and Tony in December, and he was my reindeer and I was Santa Claus, and that sums up everything. No, I was a big fan of Tony Atlas's, and Vince said, "Hey, we want to get you a manager. We thought about this person and that person. We got a couple other people that we're thinking about, but we'll see. I haven't heard from this guy. I don't know what happened to Tony Atlas. We're trying to locate him." I said, "Tony Atlas?" And he said, "You like Tony Atlas?" I said, "Man, I always liked Tony Atlas growing up. I saw Tony Atlas wrestling in Lafayette, Louisiana with my grandmother when I was 10, 11. He was like, I said, "I never met him before." I was like, "What's he like?" And Vince was like, "You're going to have to meet him yourself." And I went, "Oh, no, what happened, man?" He was like, No. He said, "Tony had a rough time." And he always had compassion for Tony. And Tony did stuff that he shouldn't have done. But he had came to grips with it. And he was lucky enough to have a woman find him and fix him. A lot of us never change. People say, once a man is over 17, that's who he is. No, that's not true. Monica found Tony in the park near death and fixed him up and made him a good human. And he's goofy as hell, but I wouldn't have him no other way because, my respect for him and the fact that Tony really does have a good heart. He just made bad decisions because he's malleable and he's a little gullible at times, and he lets people work him into doing dumb stuff. And when I met Tony, Tony was coming out of being homeless, and he was like, "Man, thank you, man, for giving me an opportunity." I said, "Man, that Vince was the one." He said, "No, Vince told me that you never met me before, that you wanted to meet." I said, "Well, it's both of us." And I enjoyed Tony, telling me from the negative side, because I had so much positive stuff happen that I couldn't see what the negative kind of looked like. And he would sit in the car and drive, and he would tell me his life story every week. After about that third week, I was like, "I know, Tony, I know." He would just tell me, he was like, "No, I'm just telling you, man, because I don't want you to make the mistakes I made." That's a good person. When they experienced all the bad and they don't want you to go through it. Ain't that what your parents say to the kids? Listen, I'm telling you to go left because if you go right, you're going to fall in a big hole. He was helping me dodge the holes. And I was like, huh. And that's where our relationship, kind of blossomed. And, man, we did some really cool stuff. I had some really, really elite matches with Tony. Man, my matches with Kurt Angle and my matches with Jack Swagger were excellent matches. Excellent matches. And that's, just listening to history, oh, man, that dude right there remind me of this person. If y'all do this and do that, oh, that'd be good. Then I'm talking like Tony. Don't y'all go back and say, "Mark Henry was talking, I'm acting like you."
Let's talk.
You ever heard him laugh? It's the worst. Especially in the car.
Poor Tony.
You can't run.
There's a great book called The Six Pack, which has got a chapter about Tony in it. It's a great book. They interviewed him about his life. I wanted to talk to you about the Hall of Pain 2011. You win the world title. You're having these killer matches with Sheamus and Randy Orton. Why, at that time, how did you come up with the Hall of Pain, and why do you think that those opponents were what made it work so well?
Because of the respect of the Hall of Fame. And I heard a conversation being had between two people that were not in the Hall of Fame. And they were saying, that son of a bitch wouldn't have got in if it wasn't for all of us helping him get in the Hall of Fame. Hell, he wasn't even that good a wrestler. I'm listening to these two old timers just tearing this guy down, right? And And I got asked, if you was done right now, do you think you would get in the Hall of Fame? I said, probably not. And they said, so is it your fault that you're not getting in the Hall of Fame, or is it the office? I had never thought about Hall of Fames and all of that. I swear to God, I never thought about it. It never came to my brain. And I sat there in a moment and went, I'm failing. Like, if I'm not trying to be the best, then that means I've accepted being the worst or being average. I've never been average at nothing in my life. And it lit a fire under my ass. And I said, the hell with the Hall of Fame. I said, I'm putting everybody in the Hall of Fame. And Hunter said, wow, that's good, man. Like, you should keep saying that. And every week, that's what it was. I tried to live up to being worthy.
I think it's safe to say you did it. Vicky, our resident hugger when people cry on stage.
Nobody wants to be average or accept being average. And I think I had. And that was my way to actually think about it without sounding arrogant. And like all of those matches I had after that were the embodiment of me. Even though I was saying negatively, the hell with the Hall of Fame, or the Hall of Fame, that's where I wanted. I never thought about it. And they say, oh, you can't think about the Hall of Fame. No, yeah, you can. Like, if you aspire to greatness, then you'll achieve greatness.
I mean, I hope this comes across the way I mean it to come across. I feel
say
like
nothing crazy.
I know you're probably going to kill me before the end of the night.
Killing spree is going to start.
But no, I feel like, pre-Hall of Fame Mark Henry, I don't think that people would think that's a lock for world champion. But when you were Hall of Fame Mark Henry, it just felt like this guy's world champion. He has to be. And it was like you had these runs. It felt like it was just like the right time.
Yeah, and I didn't get hurt. That was the best part of it, is I went about a 4-year period where I didn't get hurt. And it was just one good match after another and after another. And I remember I knew that I had made it, like incredibly made it, when there were two people that were champion at the time, and they did a draft, and they put me on one show, and they said, no, y'all already got Kane on y'all side. We want Mark on ours. I was like, oh, they're arguing over me. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, how good that felt, man, to be wanted and to be respected for your work. And man, I just was like, wow, I'm one of them. I'm one of the guys now, So I acted like I was one of the guys. At that point, I started seeing, in 2015, 16, I started seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And so I started like saying, you know what, man, I need a replacement. And Baron Corbin and Braun Strowman, I had met like in 14, and I tried to get him to wrestle. And he still wanted to be the strongest man in the world. And I had to convince him that he was going to be famous for wrestling, not being the strongest man, which is hard to, I felt like a dream smasher. Like, telling the guy, man, you quit. These guys that are champion right now, they're going to be champion a long time. You should come on in the wrestling and make your way. And Baron Corbin, he was a football player for the Arizona Cardinals. Can you believe that he used to be offensive lineman? Like he lost like 90 pounds, and he decided to do it, man. Ever since I told him, look, man, when they ask for somebody, you need to be sliding your big butt under that rope and getting in the ring. And that's what he did. I started trying to find my replacement, but I ended up finding something better than that I had the talent to see something and go, oh, that's what a wrestler is. And I turned it into, doing that with the girls. I brought Apollo Crews and Rich Swann from Japan. And I remember telling Vince, man, I saw these two dudes tagging in Japan. And he's like, what are you watching that for? And I'm like, I said, man, I love wrestling, man. Like, stop. And he was like, well, how good are they? I said, better than all our tag teams. And he went, I said, I tell you what, put them on the show and see. And we were in Columbus, Ohio, and he said, well, get them to a show next week. I paid my own money and brought Rich Swann and Apollo Crews from Baltimore and Orlando to the next week show. I think we're in Little Rock, Arkansas, or somewhere. And they worked a dark match against one of the tag teams. And I'm sitting there in Gorilla, just watching the match. And he used to go by Uha Nation. And he used to do something that Vince had never seen in wrestling. And you know what it's like to have a guy that's been around wrestling since he was 12 say, damn, I never saw that before. I felt like a damn genius, man. And he don't even do it no more. He stopped doing it when he came to WWE. He used to jump, and do a 450, bang, splash. He said it hurt his knees so bad that he just had to quit doing it. But he did something that Vince never saw. And for me to see that and bring that to Vince, Vince was like, I need you to start traveling with the development team. So I started going to the Olympics. I went to 2 Olympics, scouting talent and doing stuff. And I just did it because I thought it was the right thing to do. I never got paid a dime for it.
I mean, that you've parlayed new parts of your career, but we can't leave tonight without talking about the Salmon jacket and the retirement with Cena. An episode of Raw, you come out.
Was clap for that.
You came out.
The lion ass jacket is over.
But nobody knew it was going to happen. So when you got in and you did that promo, people legit thought Mark Henry's retiring.
9 months. 9 months I started lying.
What do you remember about sort of coming up with that and like in the moment feeling that the crowd really think that you're going to be retiring?
Well, first off, it was real. The first 4 months, I didn't have a contract. My contract was coming to end in 4 months, and I told Vince, I'm not renewing, man. I'm going home. And he was like, you're not going home. You're going to sign another deal. Vince, I'm not signing another deal, man. This is it. I'm dead serious. So he was pissed off for a little while because I said no. And he thought that I was finna go somewhere else and wrestle. And I was like, I'm never wrestling again. When I leave here, I'm done. And he was like, why won't you sign another deal? Like, who you talking to? I said, I'm not talking to nobody. I said, I'm not wrestling no more, man. I told you, I'm done. And probably about 5 months in, he said, well, we got to do something because I can't, for legalities, I can't have you on working week to week. Like, we got to do something. And I said, I'll sign for a year and up and through me retiring. And then, like, who do you want me to, give the rub to? And I don't know if y'all understand the term the rub, but like when a wrestler gets to the point to where they want to go out, you want to build somebody on the way out. Like, you want to make somebody else valuable in your loss, that they have life and success. And Vince was like, damn it, I don't want to even think about it. Like, you need to sign another deal. And I went into his office one day with every intention of signing this 1-year deal to finish the year out. And I came out of that damn office with a 3-year contract. I was like, what am I doing? Oh my God, why am I wrestling again? I felt such regret signing that deal. And it wasn't about the money. It was like, I was like, man, I want to go home. Because, and like I said, I started this whole thing with saying how sensitive I am. And I guess we saw some of that. That was at the point to where my kids were old enough now that if I put my shoes on, they start putting their shoes on too. You guys are like, where we going? Where we going? And they would cry when I left. And that used to break me in half, man. Like, I'm like, man, I got to go home. So that's where the I'm coming home came from. It was like, it was hard to, like, leave all the time. I was just so tired of it, and I was hurt too. My back is broken. I broke my back and never had surgery because I'm crazy. But I was told, look, man, don't have back surgery unless you absolutely have to. And so I'm just sucking it up. I needed surgery since 2016. And I just kept on wrestling, kept on going, man. And now here I am. It takes me I walked up probably 30 steps, and it was like lightning shooting down my leg every time I took a step. So it sucks getting old. It sucks abusing your body the way we abuse our bodies. But man, it was so worth it.
But you did have a great salmon jacket.
But you know what, man? I wanted what I wore that night, I wanted it to be memorable because it was only 2 months before that I said, okay, I'll sign the deal. And I signed that deal, and I was like, well, what am I going to wear to make this really I put my boots on the steps. I did everything that you can do. So Arsenio Hall is, y'all know Arsenio? So Arsenio Hall is a friend of mine. And I told him that I was done. And I had never really just blatantly lied to somebody in my life. And then that was like the gateway to me really lying. Then it got easier they say if you lie once, it's easier to tell another one. That's the truth. Because I told everybody that I was done then. Big Show, I was on ESPN. I mean, every media outlet for the next 3 months leading up into that, I was saying that I was done. And the world was watching the retirement. It was a big deal. And so that pink jacket was what I chose to get everybody's attention. When I went down to the ring, I wanted people to not think about nothing but that damn pink jacket. And, so I went down there, and of course, John Cena, if y'all don't know, we didn't smarten him up until he didn't get told that I was doing what I was doing until midway through my speech. He didn't know. I'd never said that before, but they got all these damn shows on TV now telling everybody what happened in wrestling. So, like he didn't know. And right before he got told, if you go back and look at it, I said the one thing that eluded me is the fact that I never won the WWE Championship. And he came through the ropes and handed it to me. And he was standing on the apron crying. I'm like, damn. I think we ought to tell him, y'all. So, like, when I looked down and I said, I told Mark Yaton to, like, hey, get the referee, man. And because John was making me cry more. And then that's when he jumped down off the apron. When I saw him jump down off the apron, I was all right. Let me wrap this up because this is going to get real different. And I told him, I said, come in the ring, man. Like I finished it up. I'm coming on. And he raised my hand, and then we turned around, and our back was to the camera. I said, "You good?" And he's like, "I'm good." And then I spiked his ass. And like that part of is what every wrestler live for. But in my case, there was almost 8 months of buildup with nobody knowing, including the guy that I was working with. It was the biggest secret in wrestling. That's why it got over. There was no holes in the plan. There was nobody to talk to other than if it got out, it was because Vince said something or I said something. Like, I don't know if Vince told the producers or the writers or everybody. I think everybody thought that I was retiring. And that's the way it was done. And like I look at it as the most effective, the most successful part of my career in execution. I still like sexual chocolate.
I do want to ask you a last couple of things. One thing that I really think you should be commended for is, so my favorite wrestler growing up was Hulk Hogan. He was my favorite. And in 2015, when all the stuff happened, people were angry and upset at him and what happened. And the whole story about you sort of offering to take him to different schools and stuff, I think it's such a commendable thing to do. Does that sort of sit with you still, that you did that and kind of, because I know you've done the TMZ documentary and stuff. Does it still sit with you about sort of trying? Did you feel that you wanted to try and help him?
Well, I knew different because when I saw him, most people would be like, "Oh, f him! I'm never gonna speak to him again. I don't care." I was hurt, and I said, "Man, you mean to tell me all these years that we talked, you don't like me because of my color?" "No, Mark, that's bullshit. No." I said, "Well, what's the deal?" He said he was upset. He don't want to hear about his daughter having sex with nobody. I'm mad. I was mad. I was half drunk, and I was acting like I was a tough guy, and I embarrassed myself. And I said, "Well, fix it." I said, "There's a lot of people that still love you. They just want to hear you apologize." And he said, "Well, I've been advised not to talk about it no more." I said, "That's a bad decision."
Did you get the sense that he really was sorry about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, "Man, look, you're not a tough guy." I said, "Stop playing the role." I said, why? You value Hulk Hogan so much that Terry Bollea got to suffer? And he just dropped his head and wouldn't look at me. And I said, listen, man, I'm telling you, it can be fixed. And then Vince called me and said, hey, I want to hear your opinion on this. Terry said that you said it could be fixed. And I said, it can be, but he got to apologize. And he got to go to some of the black colleges, law schools, and he got to talk to them and tell them why it is he did what he did. And at the worst of it, minimally, me being in the place was a bad decision. What I did with my buddy and his wife was a bad decision. Drinking and doing drugs was a bad decision. Everything about it was bad. And then what I said was bad. I was just surrounded by bad and evil and no good this, and I'm sorry. Would have got fixed. And he wouldn't do it. And now he's not here to defend himself about it no more. And he can't apologize now. But I've had people that are very close to him tell me how he wished that he would have did it. I text with his daughter recently. Hey, man, I appreciate, even under the circumstances, you still always looked at my father different. If you ever need me, I'm here because I want to try to help repair his legacy. When they get ready to, they can't never apologize for him. No matter how much work that they do, it's not going to fix it with black people and white people that sympathize with black people and white people that are just decent humans. It's not gonna fix it now, but at least they will know when they go to glory that people won't look at them as like, hey, you was a part of the problem too, because they don't deserve that. Just my opinion.
Yeah, round of applause. I do want to quickly ask you about, you left WWE and you went to AEW. You had your run at AEW. Looking back on it now, what are your kind of memories of the AEW run that you had?
I thought it was awesome, man. Vince told me I cannot hire you as an executive because you don't have experience, and we have hired everybody here based off experience and servitude. You've never worked in the office. You're still an entry. You would be like, I would be showing favoritism bringing you in because you haven't cut your teeth. And I was like, hell, man, like, you know who I am. You know what I do, what I bring to the table. And he was like, I just can't do it. I said, well, I was like, I've talked to Tony Khan, so if you're not going to hire me, then I'm going to go get a job and I'm going to go get that experience. And we're going to kick y'all ass. And he was like, well, I know you're going to work hard. That's for damn sure. And just let me know when your deal is up so we can at least have a chance on bringing you back home. And like all of the shit happened after that with Vince, and that's his story. That's not mine. But I enjoyed my time at AEW. I just feel like that at AEW, I think Tony still wanted me to wrestle and not just be in the office. And there were things that were thank you.
Not you. Not you.
It listened for a while.
Please don't kill me.
Don't hurt me. There were things that happened that I wish would have got fixed and resolved, and it didn't. Like you can't, whenever there's an issue, you got to deal with it head on and fix it right away because it'll become cancerous. And in my heart, it became cancerous, and I just didn't want to resign. And it wasn't, I didn't get fired. I ain't never have no negative conversations about, it was just a couple little issues that made me say, no, I don't want to be a part of this. And a lot of my friends over there now. And there's a lot of kids over there. I love them like they my children because they listen and they improve. And man, I'm so happy for the world of pro wrestling to have AEW because one, it gives leverage to wrestlers. AEW has its place in this world, and I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon.
My last question, when you look back in your entire career, what is your favorite moment?
Oh, man.
Is it the hand?
Golly. Yeah. It's definitely not the hand. The process elimination can start with the damn hand. I think when I came to the reality that I can be a Hall of Famer and give my career validation by more than what people just saw, but what I was presented with. So my moment at the Hall of Fame getting this ring symbolized the fact that all of those problems that I had that got resolved and all of those successes that I had that they exalted and put on the shelf, like all of the relationships and matches and all of the stuff in between, that it was worth it, that I was not wasting my time. And in fact, I was giving something to the industry. And that's what we all work for, to leave the business better than you found it. And that's what the first thing that Ernie Ladd said to me. He didn't say, hi, I'm Mr. Ladd, or nothing. He said, I heard they're going to do something with you. Don't f up for everybody after you. And leave this business better than you found it. That's what he told me. And I did that.
I'll leave the man himself to have the last words, but give him a hand.
I should never have told you.
See what I did there? Because there was a hand.
I see what you did. Guys, thank y'all so much for coming and supporting. A lot more people are going to see this than the people that's in this room. And, like when I tell what happened in my life, which I'm in the process right now of writing a book. So all of this is fresh on my mind. Like all the crossroads, all the dumb stuff I did that I wish I regret, that I wish I could fix, that I've apologized for, my mistakes and my mistakes. But I share all the successes, but more than the successes, the lessons that were learned is where I feel like my value is going to be long after I'm dead. I've been thinking about mortality a lot lately. And I want y'all to do the same thing. Because it makes you better. It makes you accountable. And it keeps you from being selfish. The world is too selfish. A lot of our problems will get fixed if we didn't give a damn about ourselves so much and we wanted to help somebody else. So please, help somebody else.